we're still getting houses under contract every day, and other agents are as well, that like I'm telling every single one of my clients, this is the best time to sell.
From Reminder Media, this is Stay Paid, a sales and marketing podcast on a mission to help you close more deals and retain more business. Hosted by the VP of Marketing, Josh Stake, and Reminder Media's president, Luke Acree. So get ready to hear the golden nuggets that will allow you to live a life of freedom tomorrow, but only if you take action today.
All right, welcome to another edition of Stay Paid HQ, I'm calling it now. Luke?
What is the HQ?
Highly quarantined.
Oh, highly quarantined. I was gonna say I thought it was Stay Paid Quarantine, so Stay Paid HQ actually sounds better.
Stay Paid HQ is a little better. It's a little more buzzwordy. Yeah, I like that. Catchy.
I'm trying a new energy drink too for everybody who's been following my story on Monster Energy Drink.
Is that a V8 energy drink?
A V8 sparkling energy drink. Because Danny Morell's interview that we did, if you guys haven't listened to Danny Morell's, I think he was going to come through the screen and like kill me when he saw that I was drinking a Monster Energy drink. Now, he probably would think the same about V8. But this says 1 combined serving of veggies and fruit, Josh. 1 combined serving. So I'm getting my—
That's a whole serving.
And this is the segue for you. We're going to give you some vegetables and fruit for your business today.
We're going to give you your serving. Wait a minute, before we do that, because that was a pretty good segue, but I actually have a tie-in to that Danny Morell podcast. We want to give a special shout-out, especially now during this time. We have had a Stay Paid fan that's been following us for a long time, comments on almost every one of our YouTube videos. So if you haven't checked us out on YouTube, head on over to youtube.com/ReminderMedia, and you can find our Stay Paid podcast playlist there. But his name, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to do the last name. I apologize. You'll have to send us in the last name. But Alicio, I believe is how his first name is pronounced. He is commenting on almost every one of our videos. And a recent one, he commented on the Danny Morell show. So make sure you're checking out that interview with Danny Morell, because it was really, really powerful. He said, "What a riveting interview. For a moment there, I thought Danny was going to reach out through the screen and grab that Monster Energy drink from Luke's hands. You have to create your work style or your lifestyle based on love or fear. The medical term we attribute what Danny went through is adverse childhood events. That determines your adult interactions." So the cool thing about Alicio is he has actually been an emergency room nurse for over 25 years. So I'm not sure if he's practicing right now. But we haven't heard from him. So Alicio, make sure to let us know. But we just want to do a special shout out to him and all of our other medical professionals out there on the front lines right now during this crisis, making sure, putting their own lives at risk to make sure that everybody has the care and is getting taken care of during this crisis, and especially a longtime listener and a fan of the podcast. So thank you, Alicio. We really appreciate that and everything that you and your colleagues are doing right now. But we do we'll go back to the full servings of fruits and veggies.
We don't have a medical professional on, but maybe you can help
pyramid
with your business, triage your business.
This will be our third serving of Stephen Acree, Luke's brother. So if you're following Luke, you are probably following Stephen as well. He started real estate. He's out of Lynchburg, Virginia, of the Acree Brothers Realty team. He began real estate about 3 years ago. 35 transactions in his first year, 78 transactions in his second year, and 100 in his third year. He's ranked top 1% of agents in Virginia. Stephen, welcome back to the podcast.
What is up, guys? How you doing?
It's great to have you on.
Right.
Stephen, just so everybody who's following the story, Stephen doesn't listen to my advice anymore. He's now coaching me.
Are you kidding me?
Our relationship has switched to full dynamic, where it used to be I coached him, now he coaches me. It's beautiful. But hey, man, give an update on, because I know this year has been, it's off to a great start. Things are shifting right now, but give an update on where you are transaction-wise this year and how the first of the year has been going. And then let's dive into, obviously, what's happening with COVID-19.
Yeah. So we were booming this year. The beginning of this year has been the best that it's ever been. Obviously, the best market that we've ever been in a long time. So right up to this point, we have about 57 closed transactions in pending going on. And we're hoping to break the 200 mark this year. And I think we still can, even with this market. We're hoping so.
There's a golden nugget in there, ladies and gentlemen. I think is the wrong way to say it. I know
he calls me every day and makes sure I change that thing.
You guys are getting a vibe for Stephen and I's relationship, right? It's like, I think, what do you mean I think we still can? I know you can.
Love and hate.
Dude, that is actually a real golden nugget, though, that I would love to hear your thoughts on this like mindset during this time, because I want to get into some tangible tips of what you're doing and everything like that. But mindset at this time, what's your feeling on the mindset and what people should be thinking about? And I know you shared some stories about agents around your area and what you're seeing, but what should agents be doing?
Well, I think honestly, the biggest thing for me, I think this will change a lot of real estate agents that aren't educating themselves, aren't learning, and aren't true professionals in this business. Because it is funny to see even like the mindset of, the agents that are doing well in a market like this, where you literally, just have to reach out to your sphere. And so it's super simple, but coming into a market in which you're going to actually have to provide value, substantial value with obviously the relationship. I think it's going to teach people that they can't just be a real estate agent. They got to be the fiduciary agent. And they actually, you guys were talking to Ricky Caruth, but you actually have to problem solve. You know what I mean? You actually have to look at each individual client and go, what is the best scenario for this client? Because without it, when, clients possibly, and we haven't seen, enough of a change yet, but possibly where you're going to have to help someone sell even when they're losing money. That's a big deal. So you got to figure out, how you're actually going to be providing value in times like this.
What do you think the mindset of the consumer is right now, or at least in your market? Obviously, every market's a little different. But what's the mindset of the consumer, and what are you facing now?
Well, I will say as soon as, which is actually really cool, but as soon as this started going down, I have been getting a ridiculous amount of calls from my sphere, which has been amazing. It's been really cool to see, just because it shows you that, the follow-up, the consistency of the follow-up through the year actually pays off. When you hit some time like this, you have people that are even with other agents calling. Like I have this one Facebook lady, it's so funny. She reached out to me and she was like, I'm so thankful that you're helping me, even though I'm with another agent. And she has been reaching out to me, asking me market value for houses and all that good stuff. And I haven't swooped in and taken her. She is with another agent, but it's been cool to have people reaching out to me and actually asking me to tell them what's happening in this market. And the truth is, honestly, for us, I haven't seen enough of a change yet in the listing price. Like we're still getting houses under contract every day, and other agents are as well. That, like, I'm telling every single one of my clients, this is the best time to sell because we don't know what's going to happen, you know what I mean, in the next couple months. Who knows? And if you're seeing really good prices right now and nothing's changed, why in the world would you be negative to your sellers and telling them, bunker down, we're about to hit the worst market there is? I mean, I'm educating them and letting them know, obviously what could come, but I'm telling them, get your house on the market as soon as possible. And I'm telling them it's obviously no incentive of mine. You know what I mean? I'm not forcing this to happen. It's not on my own agenda. I want the best for you. You need to list your house and get it sold for top market value, because we could be seeing a change and no one knows what's going to happen. So,
dude, that is a great golden nugget of an opportunity to reach out to all of your past listing potentials, call it listing leads, past people you thought you could maybe get to sell, but never, they were teetering on the fence, and reach out to them, because what you are saying is true. And understand the market right now. Right. And there's a couple, maybe it's a month, maybe it's 2 months, no one knows, but there's an opportunity right now to capitalize on still what is a good market in real estate. And prices are still high. And I saw a stat, I don't know where it was from, but the equity that people are sitting on their homes right now, it's like at an all-time high.
Yeah.
So taking advantage of that versus going into a bear market where the
Sure.
shift happens and you lose maybe 5%, 10%, 15% of your home value.
Yeah.
And now you're forced to sell and you lose 15%. So a great action item for everybody is call all of your past listing leads.
But I will say as well, even with that, because, we talk about having to go into a difficult market and have these scripts where people are going to be losing money, they're not going to be getting as much for their houses and so forth. My biggest thing, like we're working with, we're putting 7 listings on the market this week alone. And a lot of these people, like I have one right now that was an absentee owner. They own their house outright. Like they don't care. They just want to get rid of the property, you know what I mean? And get $189,000. But if we had to tell them, hey, unfortunately the market's taking a shift and we're going to have to reduce this price, it's not going to hurt them. They still need that money. You know what I mean? And so I guess the nugget with that is people not everyone's going to be in a rough situation. There's still going to be people looking to sell in which you can provide substantial value to. So we always have this mindset, like going into it, like you got to tell people the truth and they're going to lose money and you know what I mean? And you're super negative, but go into it with a positive. I'm coming here to make you the most money that you can possibly make on your house in this market. We don't decide the market. We're just here to provide value. So anyways.
Dude, I love that line. We don't decide the market. We're just here to provide value. So talk to me, I guess, then a little bit about what's changing. You have 57 pending or closed, right? What's changing how you're having to show houses? Virginia is under lockdown, but real estate's essential. I remember you saying when I called you that day, I was like, hey, man, what are you going to do? And you're like, nothing, man. Real estate's an essential business.
Essential, baby.
And I've been telling my clients that forever. I'm essential to this economy. But the point being is, what is the change in how you're showing houses? How is that dynamic happening? Any advice to agents?
Well, I think it's just we are being a lot more safe, obviously, with how we're showing houses. So, and it is a big fear, and rightfully so. Now we're in a place where it's not as big of a scare because we're not seeing. I think we've had only a couple cases in Lynchburg, and there's I don't know how many between Roanoke and Charlottesville, but there's not that many. But we're just telling any one of our listings to keep all the lights on in the house. And then we'll just tell the buyers as they're going through, not to turn off the lights and, touch as little as they possibly can. And then when I'm going out, I'm putting on Germex all the time and staying 6 feet away. But we're doing all we can, but people still have to sell. People still need a roof over their head in this time.
What about virtual? What are you doing virtual? Are you doing Instagram?
Well, that is funny, actually. Yeah. We've done a lot. Yeah, we've done a lot more virtual this time. But I think the funny thing is we've always been doing virtual. And I don't know with other agents if it's the same way, but buyers never like virtual. You know what I mean? They want to go see the house, unfortunately, half the time, even though it's, it's going to look the same and we can walk through twice as fast. So we've never been able to break the virtual, barrier of going and showing people the houses with your iPhone and all that good stuff. We do video walkthrough tours with our photographer and videographer, but now buyers are more willing to do it only because of, this virus that's going on. So maybe we'll see a change in the market coming up here by being able to, buyers saying, well, I am willing to buy a house based on what you showed me from a video and stuff. So we're going to be doing some live videos coming up, open houses and stuff. But I'm doing right now a bunch of stories, Instagram stories of walkthroughs. And we just got an Instagram person reach out to us today that because of the videos that we've been doing, that's putting their house up on that's looking to buy. And Kayla reached out to them today.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's even simple. So people who are listening, it's not like you're using some piece of software or something. You're literally using just Facebook Live, Instagram. And the beautiful thing about it that I try to tell people all the time is that even if someone doesn't reach out to you and give you a lead, like you got Instagram, I think that's amazing that you got a lead from Instagram. It's still getting your activity in front of them so they see you're active. And there's this phase you almost go through with your friends and family in your sphere. Yeah. Josh and I are experiencing this phase on the podcast where our own friends and family, because we have stayed consistent at it and keep producing content, our friends, right, our own family are starting to take it seriously and actually starting to be like,
Dude, they've been the ones that have seen us like get interested in things multiple times and not finish them.
That's probably
a new hobby every other week.
Yeah. But it's amazing, you know, Josh, the journey, it's like at first they don't take you seriously, or it doesn't really mean anything to them. But as they see you keep posting again and again on your Facebook for listings, on your Instagram, your journey, there are people watching. And when they come into that pain point, they're going to think of you like that lady who's with another agent. And I guarantee you she's thinking of you because she's seen all the education that you're doing.
That's it. Yeah, we're friends on Facebook, which is cool. So she's been, following there. And I had set up for my owner, the same thing, friends on Facebook. So she said, I reached out to her. She said she'd seen our stuff. So, and we're friends on Facebook, which is kind of crazy. So I set up an appointment with her. But yeah, it is funny because what you said there, I think that's the golden nugget that I'm just learning in this business is instead of taking on a ton of different activities as far as lead gen goes, just do things consistently, like pick like 3 things that you're going to be doing consistently, and you see it paying off 3 years down the road. It's like, it's not instantaneous, obviously, but just like you said, I had my friends make fun of me, the first year in my business from video tours and stuff. And now I'm getting people reach out to me and ask me for advice. So it's pretty cool.
How have you changed up your marketing right now? Or have you spent more? Because you do a lot of Facebook, you do a lot of email marketing. Your emails look beautiful. Like what have you done anything different or changed up your messaging?
For the most part, we just started doing Facebook ads in which we're actually trying to brand a little bit more in this market, showing that, we're still selling houses. So I talked to my broker. She's kind of doing the same thing. Actually, both. It was funny. I called both my brokers when this went down and when they were shutting down the economy. And both of them said, it was hilarious. Both of them said they called each other and they cried because they didn't want to go through the same thing they went through in 2007 and 2008. And it was funny watching them because they both did the same thing. They both cut expenses big time. They ended up actually having to let some people go, and they did it right away without even hesitating. And then they both started branding much bigger, showing that, and they would post in it, another success even with COVID-19. You know what I mean? Something like that. Just sold this house. And then, you just see them posting over and over again. So that's what we're doing with the same thing with our emails. Just did it again. You know what I mean? Social media sold in this market. I told Kelly the other day, we're going to post, and we should be doing this, anyways, but just hit the market, just under contract, you know what I mean? Closed. And then, the closing picture with our clients. So I just want us to post on every single listing, showing people we're still in a good market. We're still doing it. And even if we hit a bad market, we're still there for you. You know what I mean? We're still
that stuff will cut through the noise right now.
Yeah.
Because other people aren't necessarily posting that. They're not thinking about that. Normally you might post that and it kind of gets lost amongst all the other pictures of clients, but that's really cutting through the noise right now.
Yeah. And I actually think, like we talked about the consistency thing, if you just start doing it, you're probably not going to see results, unfortunately, right away. But that does not mean you shouldn't start right now. You know what I mean? So we've been branding heavy. Like people know, all our sphere knows us on social media. And we get most of our business from our sphere from, the Facebook, the Instagram, even LinkedIn. But people need to see the consistency. And if you do it for a year, 2 years, 3 years, you're going to start to see some major results.
Yep.
No. So go ahead, Luke.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I agree. It's just spreading faith over fear. That's what it is. It's showing people there's action, there's activity there, there's positivity. It's beautiful because a listing now is not just a business activity. It's actually a positive message.
It's like a success. Yeah.
It's like if a store has a success story, it's a positive. It's like, we're still hiring people. That's not just we're hiring people as a business. That's the world's still turning. Don't give up. And that's a powerful
And that's
message.
good.
So what does your day-to-day look like, right? I mean, I know you've talked a little bit about how a lot of there's still some business as usual type activity.
Dude,
but are you hitting the phones? Like, what's going on?
Well, it's funny because this might have been, it sounds terrible, but it might have been the best thing that could have happened for our business, because as soon as this went down and I called my brokers and I heard that from them and their experience, we cut a ton of expenses, a ton of stupid stuff that we were paying for. We set up standards of you have to make 20 calls every day, even though we were already doing it for the most part. It just wasn't a consistent standard. And so we set standards. You have to make 20 calls a day, add, 5 contacts to command, touch base with your sphere, talk to them and see if they need anything. So for me, it's literally just been coming in and doing the same things I've been doing, but setting up the standards for the team. You know what I mean? This has to happen over and over again. And for us, luckily, it's been easier because I have a bunch of people reaching out to me going, what should I do right now? And so it's been just absolutely fantastic. I've loved having that. But people can do the same exact thing, touching base with their sphere and see if they need anything. Because the truth is, honestly, if you've lost your job, you can still pull equity out of your home. You know what I mean? You can still sell your home and make money so that you don't have to, go broke. There's just plenty of ways you can problem solve to actually provide value in this market. We can give, our resources because we're doing well right now and pay for someone to have groceries. There's so much you can do for your sphere that it literally just means you just need to reach out to them. You know what I mean? You just need to touch base with them and ask them.
No, man,
so what are some examples of those? You said those stupid expenses. What are some examples?
Yeah. Well, Luke actually told me, so a couple things that I'm paying for right now. I'm paying for 3 Gmail accounts, which is stupid. And I went and cut those. We cut Zillow, and actually we just cut it in half because Zillow doesn't want you to leave right now because almost everyone is leaving. But we actually, the only reason I did that, honestly, we were doubling our income on Zillow, our return, but I knew they were cutting the percentage kind of thing. So we just called them up. And so we cut that in half. I went out and I completely got a new business card. So I'm sure there will be some other expenses coming up when they email me saying your payment didn't go through. So that was the first thing I did. I took cash out of the bank, went and got a new card, and just am setting up things as they go and making sure we're way more profitable than we were before.
Now, did you cut back on the coffee? Are you still drinking coffee?
This is my 4th cup for the day, if not.
Oh, yeah, but it's not Starbucks. So at least
It's not Starbucks. That was a Dixie cup that he held up.
Just cream and sugar, yeah.
I tell agents this. I tell any business this. Is there are a lot of expenses you can cut, non-essential expenses, like coffee, like not buying that outfit you were going to buy, all those things. And this is not to discourage anybody. You don't want to live in a mindset of fear, but you can have wisdom in what you purchase and what you don't purchase, right?
Sure.
And there's a lot of non-essentials. And then it's like what you said, you double down on your sphere. What I loved in what you just said, though, as a golden nugget, is you see that the time you make changes in your life is when you're faced with pain. A lot of times pain is used as that pendulum, almost that swing for you that makes you realize, man, I got to do things differently. And this COVID-19 and everything people are going through, like, this is your moment to use this as a redefining moment in your life and in your business, and use the pain as, hey, I have to be disciplined. And if you have a team like you, one of the things you always struggle with team and motivation is people showing up every day and you having to be the hard ass, for lack of a better way of saying it, and having to set standards. Now you have a perfect reason to tell all your team, hey, look, this is what it is, and it's not just me. This is what we have to do. We should have been doing it anyways, and it's a perfect way to start shifting your whole mentality. And then the hope would be you never go back. The doubling down that you do now, you never go back. You never go back to non-essential wasted stuff, spending your money, frivolously. You never go back to not making those calls. You never go back to not showing up every day like today's going to be maybe your last if you don't deliver. Because if you can live in that mentality, in that space, you're going to win. And that's where I think top producers live. And I'm talking about like the highest performers in the whole world. They live in a space that it's like, this is it. I'm always going to live. Like Gary Vee always says, I'm always going to live like this is my last day. Like this is my last day. I think Steve Jobs said that at one point too. So if you can live in that mentality, that's the key.
Dude,
But
I
we're
love
so
that.
weak, man. People are so
No, yeah, it is true. And this could be good for us because of that reason. Just being undisciplined. And then, if you're not doing those activities, if you're not doing the right activities, you're never going to be able to service your clients in the way that you should. If you're paying for way too many platforms that you're underutilizing, they don't provide the value, you lose the money. Because of that, you lose the motivation. Then you don't go out and you're not able to sell homes. You know what I mean? So it's like everything that you do should be wrapped around profit, so that you can give back to your people.
I love that. Now, I know you had reached out. I had been posting and sharing with people that you need to be reaching out to your sphere.
Yeah.
And you ended up actually picking up a buyer off of that. Share that.
Yeah. So, well, that was like right when it went down too, because it was a weird scenario. He just popped into my mind. It was someone we talked to probably a year ago, and we should have been in touch with him a little bit more. He had forgotten my face. He just remembered that I had reached out to him. But I basically just texted him. This is a $1 million buyer. He owns a lot of the Sweet Frogs up the East Coast. And anyways, I just texted him. I was like, dude, interest rates are so low. I just saw this property drop, $100,000. It's tax assessed at $1 million something, and we're down to 900,000. I think it was like 899 or something like that. And I wasn't expecting a response. I was just like, I know this is what I need to do. And he just texted me back right away. He's like, I'd like to see it at 1. So we went out, and he actually ended up, it was cool. He's a really cool Christian guy, and ended up ministering to me a little bit as well. And we just struck up a good relationship. So we're out and about looking at properties. So
6 feet apart though.
Yeah.
Did he bring you
Amen.
Sweet Frog?
Yeah, he did not quite bring me Sweet Frog.
No one knows what Sweet Frog is. It's like, isn't it like a ice cream, but it's yogurt based or whatever?
Yeah, it's a yogurt. I don't even know what you call that, but yeah, ice cream yogurt shop.
It is. No, that's awesome, man.
It's called Froger.
Yeah. But even other people, man, I had another investor reach out to me saying he wanted to sell his properties because he was expecting to go into, a worse market. What was the other one? We got one yesterday from the guy that does our roofs, called me up, said he wanted to sell his investment property. So it's just like the things that you do with your sphere, and you're building the trust and the relationship, they come to fruition, in times like this where people need value. Mm-hmm. And so just make sure that you're doing that. I mean, you're reaching out to them and caring about them, and it isn't about the transaction. You don't need the transaction. If you just remember that, you don't need it right away. Just call them and see how you can provide value, and it's going to 100% pay off. It just always does.
Man. Yep. I love what you said with that buyer lead. You said, I didn't expect anything from it, but I knew it was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
You just do it.
Yeah.
So many of us like, well, I'm not going to get anything from it anyway. I'm not going to do it. So.
Yep. Well, you'll see the hardest part for agents right now is they're going to listen to this, and they're going to hear what you're saying. They're going to see, oh man, he has 57 under contract. I got to start doing this. And they're going to start, and then they're not going to get anything from it. And what's going to happen is they're going to think in their minds, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
But what they're not realizing is, well, it doesn't work right now for you because you didn't start 3 years ago like you did. Yeah. Right. And so meaning like it's in the next time around, it's in a year from now that you're going to see the fruits of your labor.
Right. And that's on a big scale though, too. You know what I mean? Like you will see fruition right away if you make the substantial calls to your sphere. I mean, you're going to see fruition right away, but the big fruition comes when the wheel just starts turning, you know what I mean? And then it starts turning on its own, you know what I mean? Then you have leads coming in.
Better way to put it, you see fruition, but the work you have to put in for the return is gonna feel miserable.
Yeah.
I'm working, so hard, calling so many people, and I'm only getting one person or whatever it is.
Right.
But in the end, where you're ending up going is you're gonna end up going to a place where eventually that pinwheel will turn itself. That pinwheel will be, you've reached so many people, you've touched so many people that at the end of the day, people will start coming to you. And that's what everybody wants. Everybody wants people to come to you.
Yeah. So, that's Ricky Cruz's message. I love that message, by the way. Like, I love that message because, I mean, that's all that he does. He literally he sends information to his sphere, obviously, but he just calls every day. I think he said on you guys' podcast, he does like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or something like that.
Yeah, he was saying he was 8 hours a day every day. He couldn't even film his YouTube videos like he normally does.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, you know what's interesting and a good point about Ricky Carruth, if you guys aren't following him, it's at Ricky Carruth. But the good thing that I mentioned to Josh and our social media team is that guy has like 200-some thousand followers now.
Yeah, I saw that.
He has skyrocketed past some major leaders in the industry and followers. And what I noticed from that, if you're looking to grow your following, and this is something we were trying to take from heart and learn ourselves at ReminderMedia and Stay Paid and everything we're doing, is he's able to grow his following so much because he's not trying to gain anything.
Boom.
So what that, like, he has nothing to lose and he's not trying to gain. And what that allows him to do is be so free. He shares whatever he wants. He says whatever he wants to the people, what he truly believes. And there are so many people that dig that because it's the real him. Yeah. And so many of us get trapped, ourselves included, like at ReminderMedia. And what we do is like we have to be careful because we have listeners that are clients of ours and we don't want to offend somebody, or we don't. And it's just you get trapped in that mentality that you end up not winning. And in the end, if you just let it go and just be like, this is what I truly believe.
Dude, that's the same thing. That's why Grant Cardone and Donald Trump, that's why they made it, man, because they literally believed what they believed and then they went for it. And you can respect that. And honestly, that's why, I think that's why we're doing so much better. Even we're in an awesome market. So I attribute a lot of it to that. And I think we'll see a lot of changes with our team. But it's like, literally because we have commissions coming in and we don't need the instantaneous money, it changes your mindset of calling people. You literally are not calling for the transaction. And I think people just feel that every time. They know it when you're talking to them. And you can hear it too. I didn't realize this until I started doing some scripts with Noah because he's making phone calls. He's our inside sales rep. But I realized when he called, I would hear this little tonality on the other side from the clients that he was calling where they would be negative from his phone call, like everyone is. No one wants to be called when they don't know who you are. And then I would hear him take that negativity and transfer it to like, I shouldn't be calling you. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And the difference in the response to people they have to me and to him in that time was literally the fact that I was like, I know I should be calling you. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I know I should be calling you, and I sincerely am checking to see how you're doing and what I can do to serve you.
Dude,
you know what I mean?
So good, man.
And it just changes everything.
Yep. Drop the mic.
Mic drop.
Yes. That's
right, Steven, man. Thank you so much for being here again, giving us an update, sharing really what's going on in your business. You've been very transparent with us.
Thanks.
Very transparent on the podcast every time we have you on. Not like you can help it. Luke's going to tell anyone everything anyway.
Amen.
But we really do appreciate you coming on. Before we close out, let people know how they can find you and get in touch with you.
Yeah. So look us up on Instagram and Facebook, Acree Brothers Realty. It's actually Acree Brothers Realty Team. And I think Instagram, the handle is just Acree Brothers. And we'll be changing that later on. And then if you have questions, I'd love to respond via email. I'm not very good at it, so I'd rather call you or have you call me. And so if you shoot me an email, it's Steven@acreebrothersrealty.com. And if you want to text me, call me. Number's 434-607-2976.
Awesome, man. Thanks again so much for coming on. And thank you all for listening. To dive deeper into this episode, get those links that Steven mentioned, and see the video, you can head on over to staypaidpodcast.com, as well as the show notes for this episode. If you're listening on a smartphone, on iTunes, you just have to swipe up to get the show notes. On some of the other apps, you kind of have to tap to get the show notes for the tap on the cover art to get the show notes. If you want to support the show, and I know you do, I know you're sitting there, you woke up this morning thinking, man, how can I show my support like Alicio for Stay Paid Podcast? Head on over to iTunes, give us a 5-star rating and leave a comment. And the best way is to tell a friend about the podcast. Share it on your social media. Right now, people are starving for content, new things, doing personal development. If you come out on the other end of this and you haven't learned a new skill, you haven't gotten yourself educated, or you haven't progressed your business in a positive way, then we really missed a huge opportunity here. Shame on you. If you want to get hold of me or Luke, you can email us at podcast@remindermedia.com, and we are at Stay Paid Podcast on Instagram. For this episode of Stay Paid, I'm Joshua Stike.
Guys, and I'm Luke Acree, and your action item really, I think, is almost twofold in a way. One is the obvious that we are hammering home every chance we get, which is get yourself on the phone with your sphere, with the people in your database, let them know you care about them, then educate them on what's going on in the market, what are their opportunities, provide value to them. Last but not least, then you can go in for the close. So you have to do that. But I think a even better action item is your standards. Use this time to double down on your standards. What are you holding yourself accountable to? That's the big shift that's happening in Steven's business. If you listen, the big shift is we don't have a choice. And so all this wasted opportunity and how we were spending our money, the wasted opportunity and how we were spending our time, meaning we weren't as efficient as we should be, and maybe it was our laziness, whatever it was that held us back from taking action. We're using COVID-19 as the push to revitalize and re-put our standards of this is who we're going to be as a team, as an organization, as a person. You need to check your standards. Who are you going to be? You just heard Josh talk about using this time to sharpen yourself, to sharpen that saw and self-development. That's a standard. A standard would be, I'm not going to come out of COVID-19 without learning a new skill or something like that. Change your standards and you'll change your life, you'll change your results. Remember, the difference between a top producer and a mediocre producer in every single industry is top producers take action. So take action on that today.